Teaching creativity requires moving past rote memorization. You have to shatter traditional, rigid educational structures to let new ideas through. To do that, you can use the three-part Creative Intelligence lesson framework. It maps directly onto any subject, from math to language arts. Grab a standard lesson plan you are currently preparing. We are going to upgrade it right now. Applying these 3 steps will turn a standard passive assignment into an active masterclass in creative thinking. Step 1 is idea generation. Write a new assignment prompt using action verbs like generate, create, originate, or produce. Instead of giving your students a predefined question to answer, the assignment must force them to build the question themselves. To make this work, the classroom environment must be constructively critical. Praise the raw volume of ideas they produce, rather than judging their initial quality. Consider a real-world example of non-routine problem-solving. Suppose a traveler needs to reach Fribourg, Switzerland. As you can see in this view of the city, there is no commercial airport. The traveler had to cycle through several failed ideas. He called a travel agent, then one airline, then tried another, and none could provide an answer. Eventually, he checked university websites to find the nearest hub, which led to the flights listed on this Geneva airport departure board. Cycling through all those bad ideas was a mandatory step in reaching the actual solution. Your lesson plan needs to mirror this. Phase 1 forces students to produce an original concept, knowing and accepting that their first few attempts will likely fail. Now for Phase 2. Add a mandatory presentation component to the assignment, using verbs like persuade, convince, argue for, or advocate. People often assume that a brilliant idea will be instantly recognized as worthy. In reality, creative ideas are almost always met with suspicion. Look at this collection of sticky notes. They are a massive commercial success today, but the inventor had to fight to convince his superiors that an intentionally weak adhesive had any practical use at all. Or consider Sir Alexander Fleming, pictured here working at his laboratory bench. When he first discovered the mold shown in this photograph, his superiors were entirely unconvinced it possessed any commercial value. The discovery alone didn't put these boxes on the production line. Fleming had to actively sell his idea to turn a dismissed mold into a mass-produced miracle drug. Whether your students design a physical education game or interpret scientific data, they have to actively defend its value to their peers. Make the pitch a mandatory grading requirement. Step 3 introduces a constraint. Prompt your students with phrases like, maintain flexibility, or avoid getting boxed in. This combats entrenchment. As you accumulate expert knowledge, your perspective can easily narrow into restrictive tunnel vision. Your established expertise creates rigid walls. Instead of absorbing new methods, that existing knowledge can actively deflect new information. For example, native English speakers usually find Chinese much harder to learn than Spanish. The established grammar rules of English actively interfere with the entirely different rules of Chinese. Apply this to your classroom by having students challenge a task they have already mastered. Ask them to solve a math problem using a completely different method than the one they usually rely on. This constraint applies to you, too. To make this work, you have to abandon your ego, admit you don't know everything, and learn from the student's natural flexibility. Practicing this perspective flip builds the habit of checking for blind spots, preventing both the student and the teacher from stagnating as they gain expertise. By following these steps, your lesson plan has been upgraded from a standard lecture into a dynamic, student-driven lab. Notice how this framework organizes a complex social studies example. 1. Generate a plan for a new government. 2. Persuade voters as a candidate. 3. Challenge the government to offer an alternative service. Creative intelligence is the combined engine of generating, selling, and challenging ideas. Take this completed framework, apply it to tomorrow's class, and watch your students' creative intelligence take over.